Okay, so what in the hell did y'all got me watching? Yo, roll the intro. Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the film created by failed triplet entitled Mad God. And before I start talking about this movie, it's very important for me to give a little bit of backstory on this. Word is that it took them 30 years in order to get this film pretty much up off the ground. I mean, 30 years. 3 decades. That's a long time. How this film ever saw the light of day is because of the backing of people who decided to fund his endeavor via Kickstarter. Now, when it comes to cinematography, especially within the animation department, this guy and his expertise is nothing short of phenomenal and groundbreaking. He was responsible for the visual effects and the stop motion seen in films like, I don't know, little films like Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, New Hope, and The Empire Strikes Back, The Force Awakens. What else? 1987's RoboCop. Pretty much all of the Twilight movies, and even those Starship Troopers movies, the original Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. Yeah, man, that's a whole lot of films that he has up under his belt. Now, since today we all have the technology within our pockets that can make anything appear, disappear, and do anything we want, pretty much within our cell phones. Yeah, these things. Back then they didn't have all that, so you have to try to understand what this guy was doing back then was pretty much revolutionary. Alright, okay, so Mad God's plot is rather difficult and damn near impossible for me to try to, bind this story within the confines of a description, because quite honestly, after watching this film like 3 times, I still don't know exactly what this film is about. It's that abstract. The only thing that I can tell you is what I saw happened and maybe one interpretation of what I believe this film probably was inspired from. And that only interpretation or clue that I gather is simply because of my knowledge of reading the Bible. Now, when this film opens up, you see this tower, which I would assume to be like the Tower of Babel. And according to the biblical text within the book of Genesis, humans, for whatever reason, thought it would be like a good idea just to build a tower so high that it can reach up to God himself. It wasn't out of admiration that the humans decided to do this or anything like that. I would suspect, though, that this was either out of arrogance and pride or was out of fear due to the fact that they wanted to get rid of the being that initiated the mass genocide foretold by the stories passed down from generation to generation. So, pretty much out of any of those explanations, these people decided to build a tower not to praise God or anything else, but to try to take him down by shooting him with an arrow. So, needless to say, things did not end so well. God pretty much got mad with him. These people wanted something, and how they went about it would be considered blasphemous. And to biblical scholars and even today Christians will be considered a sin, like a big sin, like they're trying to take down God, right? So what happened? They got punished. Now, what that particular sin is, I will break down to you, but basically they wanted to be free from God so they can be free to do whatever they pleased. Right? Ironically, the people who built this tower are descendants of those that God saved from the great flood. And also what's ironic is that the people in Noah's days pretty much had the same mindset that caused God to become angry and made humanity pay dearly for it. History repeating itself, right? But really, in order to grasp this, let's look at what happened during the days of Noah. According to Genesis chapter 6 verse 3 through 8, it reads, "And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always thrive with man, for he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years." Wait a minute. So back then we was living to what, 120 years? Wow. Anyway, There were giants of the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. And God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on earth, and it grieved him at his heart. Like, that's kind of heavy. Like, for God, the person, like the creator of all things, for him to be so angry with you and disappointed with you. I mean, not just disappointed in his creation, like mankind, to the point where he's like, yo, man, it hurts me to see y'all like this, man, but I gotta get rid of y'all. But anyway, and the Lord said, I will destroy men who have I created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creepy thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. Man, it's cold. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was just a man and perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. Out of everybody else that was just doing whatever they wanted to do in life, this one dude, mind you, he was a town drunk. Many people don't like to talk about that part, but he was a town drunk. But out of everybody, he saw favor, like he got favor within God's eyes. So let's go ahead into Genesis chapter 6 verse 9 through 14 just to see what God had planned. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had been corrupted within their ways. Had corrupted their ways, my bad. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch inside and out. You still following me, right? Let's see what God said he's going to do now. Going from verse 17 through 18. And it reads, I am going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Hold on, y'all. Hey, love, I'm in the middle of recording, okay? You okay, though? All right. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, so where was I? Okay, so from the text, you can clearly see that God is starting pretty much to apply that belt, which technically can be considered as a huge reset in the form of mass genocide. But it was Noah and his family, according to the verse, that found grace. He was a righteous man, so he was going to be spared along with his family, so they was pretty much saved. What does this have anything to do with the title of Babel and this movie? Well, let's drop down and look at Noah's descendants. Going into Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 through 9. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said unto one another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime for they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto the heavens, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they began to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. So in other words, God was like, yo, they all becoming one. There's nothing that people cannot do once they come together and have like one focus and one goal. I mean, even God had to acknowledge this. So back to the verse. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. So, in other words, he decided to call this place Babel, which pretty much coined the term babble, like when people are talking too much, when they just babbling. So, Babel, Babylon, Babel on. Hey, yo, I think Absol pretty much said something like this. That's a bar. Absol had a bar with this. Now, why did God do this? I believe it was because that humans became so arrogant, and to regulate them and stop them from mirroring what their forefathers and one certain individual did, he pretty much had to put a stop to it. And he did this by making people speak different languages and confusing them. Compared to the previous generation who pretty much like drowned in the flood, these people got off light. But again, there was one other entity who was considered arguably the most powerful, and some would say second to God, who holds such power. But it wasn't a nation, it was just one individual, and pretty much he thought that he can rule everything and anything, and it led to his downfall. Who do you think I'm talking about? Maybe this will help. If you flip forward within the Bible to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12 through 15, it reads, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend to the heavens, and I will exalt myself above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." So, you see the similarities now? Lucifer said that I will ascend into the heavens and exalt my throne. Ain't that what the people who built the tower tried to do? Each example, the people who built the Tower of Babel, the people of Noah's days who drowned in the flood, each of them all had this common ideology, which was that they wanted to be their own gods. Like, I am sure God himself, the Most High, saw the same inkling tendencies of Lucifer's mindset being reflected in their ways. God had to do what he had to do. He had to get rid of all the bad, while at the same time saving and holding on to whatever was good that's left, right? But now that I gotten all of that out the way, you're probably wondering, why did I even explain all of this? Well, that's easy. It's simply to conclude that God, the All-Father, the Most High, Yahweh, Big Man Upstairs, whatever name you wish to call him, depending on whatever teachings you subscribe to, is considered the being that is of good. Like, God is good. He is good. But it does not exempt him from having emotions, including anger. So here we're back at this movie, which I said opens up with the Tower of Babel, but also with this long verse where it appears that the big man upstairs is mad again. And this is to all the people that believes that you can just keep doing whatever you want to do in life and God just going to be okay with it. Nah, like his version of a butt whooping, you don't want to get smited, okay? You just don't want to get smited. But let's read. It says, "If in spite of this you will still do not listen to me but continue to be hostile towards me, then in my anger I will be hostile towards you, and I myself will punish you for your sins 7 times over. You will eat of the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. I will destroy your high places, cut down your incense altars, and pile up dead bodies on the lifeless forms of your idols, and I will abhor you." Man, that's brutal. But nah, it don't stop there. It keeps going. It keeps going. So let's continue. It says, "I will turn your cities into ruins and lay waste your sanctuaries, and I will take no delight in the pleasing aroma of your offerings. I myself will lay waste of the land, so that your enemies who live there will be appalled. I will scatter you among the nations and will draw out my sword and pursue you. Your land will be laid waste and your cities will lie in ruins." Yeah, not too much of the Santa Claus, sugar daddy scriptures most believers mistakenly treat him as. This is sheer consequences being expressed for actions unfavorable. And this movie simply, at least to me, is an exploration, or rather a tour through a world in which showcases pretty much what's left when God is thoroughly passing judgment. And let me tell you, I've seen so many dark, apocalyptic, dystopian, futuristic films dictating a bleak and grim world, especially when it's left up to humanity's own devices, but this one here is easily top 10 most disturbing. I would not have believed that this was Earth had it not been for some visual cues left here and there throughout the film. And let's just say Don't make God angry, okay? Hence the title of the film, Mad God. Now on to the visuals. Now, if anything, the visuals alone kind of made me feel like I'm journeying through hell itself. Grotesque creatures running around participating in this nightmarish ecosystem of nature. This was kind of etched into my mind long after viewing. Like, you see a whole lot of stuff going on that just makes you question, like, what in the hell is going on? Like, what is this? One could assume that these monsters are aliens or even demons, but the horrifying reality of this film's setting could suggest that these beings were once human. Judging by some of these settings and imagery the viewer sees the main character move about, you do see evidence of a past civilization similar to what we see in this film, such as destroyed and forgotten vehicles and buildings. What I find interesting about this film is not knowing which are animations and which were like practical effects. Obviously, the method of utilizing stop motion is center stage, but when certain scenes transpire, it's quite remarkable just how certain elements blend seamlessly together, such as moments where there's like real life actors that's like on screen moving about alongside with the stop motion animations. Viewing this film, I would not be surprised if one of Triplet's inspiration for such a project such as Mad God was Dante's Inferno. I would not be surprised at all due to how the different areas and environments of the main character's pilgrimage seems to be one with its own rules. Each area has its own culture, so to speak. It has its own ecosystem, like slavery, and plenty of it, along with an unspoken and yet established hierarchy of power often displayed by the exhibition of violent acts done by its denizens. Examples? Well, it is shown by them beating each other to oblivion or just straight up devouring a lesser threat. But while watching, I did begin to understand that some inhabitants, regardless of their primitive behavior, operate within a sense of purpose that for the other denizens of that area kind of understands and acknowledges. Like in some areas, I will be able to see beings display like a higher level of cognitive behavior by cooperating or completing some type of goal with somebody else or with something else, I guess, that's almost prophetic, seemingly. And what that goal is, well, that's left up to your interpretation. Like, you watch the film and come back and talk to me and I don't know, just watch the film. But final thoughts, this movie was quite the experience and is definitely one for the indie world. It's strange, weird, and disturbingly awesome. If there was anything to take away from this movie, it's simply do not make God angry, please. Just don't do it. Because in the hypothetical case that this could become a reality, whether due to war or other means, death would be a kind and merciful gesture than having to see and live through this horrific, nightmarish, whatever this is, displayed on this film. I would at least recommend people to go see this film at least once, and at the moment this film can only be viewed exclusively on Shudder, which is a streaming platform where you can watch all types of horrifying films. So go ahead and do that. And until next time, peace y'all.